Now the river Rhine sings by the linden tree. Its melody is calling me. There's a sweetheart yearning for me day by day, so far away, in dreams we stray.
Today is May 5th and I am beginning work on chapter 4. I really want to finish writing this book by the end of July, and I have 6 more chapters to go. So in order to get to that point where I can write at that higher level, I need to do more to kind of optimize how I'm writing. I have to understand what my hurdles are, what is stopping me from moving through chapters quickly. And yeah, I just have to optimize what that looks like. I have to understand it and tweak it and experiment until I get to a place where I am in a better flow. I've been reflecting this morning on the previous 3 chapters and why it took me so long to write them, and then there was a long gap in between starting each chapter. And what I've come to understand is that first 3 chapters, though they are related and they build on each other, I've had to write them from scratch. Whereas on my previous book, as is quite typical for a lot of books, the chapters all led on from one another because the story was continual. Whereas in this one, it's more start, stop, start, stop. So that helped me understand why these chapters were so difficult. And now the next 1, 2, 3, 4, essentially 4 or 5 chapters will all have a very similar structure. So today I'm really going to map out the chapter, understand what I need to begin in a strong manner, like what resources, what key concepts am I going to use, I just need to set up my workspace. I'm going to try and write it in 8 non-consecutive days over 2 weeks, today being day 1. Okay, so this is what I've got so far. Just a really rough outline. Started to put down some key concepts and figure out where they're going to go. But yeah, this is enough for now to start with, and now I'm just thinking of my main examples and what main texts I'm going to use. I'm going to go back to Iconic Power and see if there's anything that is going to be relevant to this. I'm not sure if there will be. So far I have talked about BTS in the 2nd chapter and Maddie Healy of the 1975 in the 3rd chapter. So I'm wondering what examples and who I'm going to use to talk about this chapter, which is about the work of the icon and how it has to be a particular kind of work to help them become iconic. My main problem is that BTS are the best example for all of this because they are operating on such an extreme level in comparison to everyone else. But I don't want them to be the only people that I talk about in the book. I want there to be some really good examples, so it doesn't just feel like I'm leaning too hard on BTS, but they are the best. And then if I'm to use them and use someone else like the 1975, why?
I long to hear the church bells sweetly chime. Our love will rhyme. There'll come a time. Bright moonbeams twinkle on the rippling Rhine River, and my sweetheart waiting by the vine.
Good morning. It is day 2 of working on chapter 4. It's Monday the 6th of May. It's not long after 10:20. I've been finding that I work really well if I get up, do my steps, make a drink, sit down and just get straight into work without making breakfast or without starting to film or getting stuck into anything else. Just while I'm still half awake, kind of getting oriented on the page, getting my notebook, writing down my ideas or what I want to do or where I want to go for the day. I have got a really kind of more concise idea of what I'm doing because I sat this morning and wrote a page of what my arguments are, and there's only 2 main arguments, and also within that there's some key concepts and some other ideas and stuff that I float, but there's 2 main arguments that this whole chapter revolves around. Then I went through and kind of plotted out how many words roughly I think each section will be, mapped out the remaining 7 days that I have left to write this, and what sections I'm going to work on what days. And then, yeah, I think if I write about 500 to 800 words a day, I can be done at the end of these 8 days. I've just come up with like a set of kind of ideas or rules about how I'm going to approach each session. So when I sit down each time, I want to review my progress, identify potential blockages or issues that might arise in the day, collect all the resources that I will need and read them and take notes first, and then kind of get stuck into everything from there. So that's my plan so far. We'll see how I need to adjust it as we progress, because I haven't started writing yet. So today is my first 500 word block, which makes up the very start of the chapter. I so far have had good luck with putting every chapter into 3 main parts with subparts within them. And the first part of the chapter is generally just like a big introduction that's kind of like contextualizing, setting everything up and introducing the main point or the main argument of the whole chapter. And then in the second part, we kind of get into expanding on everything more and developing the argument. And in the third one, it's kind of like drawing everything together for the main argument, which is unique to me and the book and the theory or the idea that I'm building about iconicism. So today it's just the first introductory 500 word bit, which I don't need to do any other researching or data collection or anything for, because it's just contextualizing, doing some anecdotes, grounding it in my story from my perspective, just because that's the pattern that I'm repeating throughout this book. It's 16 minutes past 1. I am 1,116 words into this chapter, and I have completed everything I want to today.
Love dreams remind me I left my heart behind me by the dear old river Rhine. Through the vineyards we will wander by and by, just you and I. No more we'll...
It's 10:25 on day 3 of writing chapter 4. I did everything I planned. I sat down, I reread what I wrote yesterday, and I revised some of it. I definitely want to rewrite it at some point, so I have to factor that into my timeline. I got set up for today. I found some resources, and then had a bit of a moment with Brendan, which was very triggering for me, because in order for me to stay on this track, like, there can't be anything that slows my progress or stops my progress or distracts me too much. And of course, living with someone else is a big distraction. So everything's okay now, but I got more upset than I ever normally would, because I've got this extra pressure. Going, well, now that I've gotten upset, how do I pull myself back in line and focus and write what I need to write today? I managed to write 500 words, which makes up the introduction of the third part of this chapter. I'm really pleased that I was able to focus and to apply myself to this. In doing the writing, I was able to get a lot more clarity about what I'm doing in this section, and also for today I had planned to do another part, which is the only writing day in this 8-day period where I had planned to do 2 different sections. And I know that that's always a struggle for me, because it does require more research, a distinct start and stop between sections, and I just don't have the mental capacity for that today. This next part that I'm writing about is going to be about Frida Kahlo, and I thought I could do that quite quickly, but what I'm learning is that this needs to kind of have a bit more depth than I had originally planned.
Then our lips will cling while graping to the vine beside the Rhine when she is mine.
It's 9:57 on day 4 of writing chapter 4. I have reviewed what I've written so far. I've made my adjustments. I've become clear about what I'm writing today. My resources are collected. I've read them and taken my notes. I've done my steps. I've eaten breakfast. And I have kind of just stared out the window at the wall and been procrastinating for quite some time. I currently identify a major hurdle for progressing the chapter today being my fatigue and just general disinterest in doing anything.
And the sunshine of our love will flood the sea after years when gloom appears. Bright moonbeams quiver on the rippling Rhine River.
Eagle hawk, one eagle hawk. Well, she write on that book all night long.
It is Sunday, May 12th. It's 12:50. It's Mother's Day. Therefore, I had a busy morning and I've only been at my desk for the past hour or so now. I don't feel too well, which I have officially identified as a major block to me not completing my work today. Some of the food I ate last night is not feeling great for me right now. Today I've decided is more of a revision of everything that I've done and a reworking of what needs to come. I've just restructured the chapter a little bit because the section that I wanted to write on Frida originally was going to be at most like a few hundred words, and it's turned into something that's over 1,000 words. And I had planned a lot of these sections, and it's just going to blow out the timeline, the length of the chapter, and I don't really know if that's necessary. I don't think it's needed, everything that I had planned. So I've just kind of sat with it and really thought, what is it that I want and need to say? And I made my changes based on that. It is Monday, 13th of May. It's just around 8:53 in the morning. I'm just about to start writing for the day. Last night I was overcome by this intense anxiety that now that I'm no longer writing the heavy theory building and making the story more focused on me, that it's not as interesting. It's not as hard-hitting or powerful because these sections are going to be more simplistic. They're just going to explore a smaller topic area and be more to the point. So then I had to really sit and think how do I make this the best book it possibly can be? Am I on the right path, etc., etc.? And that was just very difficult for me. So I think I've lost a little bit of confidence also because I didn't write yesterday, and it's just not as, there's not as many arguments and there's not as much stuff in this chapter, which I thought was a positive thing because it will give people a break from that, so it's not so dense. But obviously I'm too close to really know what's happening with it right now. And I had to come to the conclusion that I'm just going to write the whole book first, then decide if I need to add more in to strengthen it. I've got to say, it is not going well. I got distracted by a phone call with my dad. His house got hit by a tornado a few nights ago, and I haven't been able to talk to him properly since, so it's been very stressful. So I finally got to talk to him, and now the closer I'm getting to this very important meeting, the more anxious and stressed I'm getting. So I can't focus, and I've just redone the chapter structure for the remaining part of the chapter 2 or 3 times because it's not quite working, which is why I also can't just jump into it. Feels like I'm going to throw up. I don't think I'm going to be able to write today, or not before this meeting. It's Tuesday the 14th of May and it's just after 11 o'clock. I spent all day being so anxious and stressed out for my meeting, and then it didn't happen. the person I was meant to be meeting with was held up. They were delayed. They were unable to contact me. So I was a bit ghosted for quite a few hours and just had a miserable time and then was not able to focus on writing. So essentially, I achieved nothing yesterday, which is unfortunate because now I'm behind on my schedule. And the meeting's been rescheduled for 2 o'clock today in 3 hours' time. And I'm just trying not to get stressed out about it so I can focus. So I have been writing. I've written like 3 or 4 paragraphs today. It's very, very slow moving because I've now become very confused about what I'm writing about. I've kind of lost my ability to hold the whole chapter conceptually. So it's that old chestnut again. So I'm just like really just plodding through blindly, hoping that I'm writing the right things, knowing and trusting that it will all come together and I'll make it work in the end. So I don't know if I'm going to get a lot done today just because of that meeting. I'm going to try and get some more done now and try and get some done after the meeting. And then tomorrow, despite it being a very important game for the Florida Panthers in the NHL that I would very much like to watch live at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, I will try and finish as much of the chapter as possible. And then I do have a little buffer day on Thursday where I can push some work around to complete the chapter. So, as long as I finish it before Sunday, I will be on track because Sunday is the first day of the next chapter. It's 12 o'clock and yeah, nothing is coming out today. A really important part of optimization, I guess, is also acknowledging that there will be days where things don't work out and I can't optimize my way through it. So Tabitha and I are having a self-care day. Then we'll do our very important meeting and hopefully that goes well and I will be able to write. Sometimes stopping or, moving through it without actually achieving anything is the only thing you can do.
And my sweetheart's waiting by the vine. Love dreams remind me I left my heart behind me by the dear old river Rhine.
It's 9:46, Wednesday the 15th of May. Today is the day that I had originally planned to finish this chapter. I have been writing for the past hour, 600 words. What a relief, because yesterday afternoon and last night I tried so hard to write and I was just getting like 50 words at a time and they weren't making a lot of sense and I couldn't get my brain to work, so I had to eventually abandon that idea. And I was really worried that I had lost momentum. I was so afraid that what has happened continually up until now would happen again. I make a lot of progress and then I hit some stumbling blocks and then I can't keep my momentum. And then it takes me a few weeks to get back into writing again. I don't want that to be the case. And so far today, so good. I am 3 sections away from finishing this chapter. I don't know if I can get them all done today, but I'm gonna try and get as far as I can. And if I still manage to finish on time with like 2 or 3 days missed writing, I'm already happy, but I'm gonna just have built so much more trust with myself. And that's good. That's good for me and my process and good for the book. 1 section out of 3 done, 905 words in just an hour and a bit of writing. It's kind of dawning on me that if I stay focused, I could finish this whole thing today.
Bright moonbeams quiver on the rippling Rhine River, and my sweetheart's waiting by the vine. Love dreams remind me I left my heart behind me by the dear old river Rhine.
chapter done. Another chapter done. Writing a book and you get the chapter done.
I'm going to address my 5 followers. Guys, that's not politically correct. Everyone. I did it.
Colloquial guys.
Colloquial guys, not gender guys. I did it. I finished the chapter. Less than 8 writing sessions. You can optimize your way to writing a book chapter. I finished another chapter, Brendan.
Yay! Now deal
Whoa.
with it.
Do you want to say something nice about me and my work?
Congratulations. This is twice in a row now that you've achieved what you set out to do. So
Well,
that's pretty cool.
no, this is the first time I've written.
Well,
in
not
2
twice, like in your life. Obviously, you've achieved what you set out to do more than once or twice in your life.
Thank you.
But, yeah,
Yep.
you did the thing.
Well, my last chapter took 7 weeks, 7.5 weeks. This one took 2.
What's next? Another
Well,
chapter.
I've peaked.
Who are all those people that you've been paying to write on Fiverr? Why is-
For this Florida Panthers team, second swing and Rodriguez together. He said when that trio plays together.
Controversial hit on Martian, a controversial goal as well.